Hi Anand, how are you?
Hi Sunit, I'm good. How are you?
I'm doing great. Firstly, thank you so much for taking some time out and joining me today. And welcome to the series of the Supply Chain Insider. We speak to different leaders and different people from the supply chain domains. And hello, people. Meet Anand. He is a product manager at a company called Rebuy. He is working in Germany currently, and we are going to learn about what he usually does and his different experiences in the supply chain domain. Okay, so with that, we'll get started. Anand, would you like to talk about what role you currently play, something about Rebuy and what you do, and maybe your journey at the company, or how you got introduced to this company and what you currently do?
Yeah, sure. So currently I work at Rebuy, like Sunit mentioned, and I work as a product manager in the logistics area. And within the logistics, I take care of a very how do I call it? Very niche space where we do grading and repair of electronics, used electronics. Rebuy is a company which buys stuff from people, mainly electronics and media items. Uh, Clean them, refurbish them, grade them, and then sell it to customers. So we don't just do it similar to other companies where they connect people and they can sell things to like a marketplace. It's not a
Yeah, yeah.
marketplace. What we actually
Mm-hmm.
do is we buy electronics, media, and we own them. We put it in our
Mm-hmm.
stock and then we sell them to customers. So within the media and electronics business, there is inbound and there's outbound, and the inbound is like buying from people, like C2B,
Mm-hmm.
and then the
Yeah.
outbound is B2C. So I take care of mostly the C2B part of the electronics, which is very
Mm-hmm.
niche. I call it mainly because it has very peculiar aspects of it, like grading. For
Mm-hmm.
example, if you take a phone, you have to look at a lot of things like if the Bluetooth is working,
Yeah.
if there are very tiny scratches around, and a lot of other things. And if it's repair and it's altogether a bigger beast than grading. So I take care of all the
Okay.
products which support these operational processes within the warehouse.
That's interesting. So by grading, do you mean evaluating how the product is
Yes,
and
yes.
whether it can be inbounded and then
Yeah,
resold? Okay.
exactly.
Okay.
So
Got it. And I've been a customer of a company called Cashify, which does the same thing in India. It's not a marketplace as such, but it it does the same refurbishing, collects electronics from people, and then they probably modify, refurbish, and resell it on their platform again. So when you said rebuy, its business line just reminded me about Cashify.
yeah, it's something
So
similar, but we
yeah.
don't just do refurbishment. We do refurbishment as well, but
Mm-hmm.
our main business is actually buying electronics and media which are in good condition, not
Okay.
like new but used.
Yeah.
Good
Yeah.
condition, all the functional things have to be working,
Mm-hmm.
and even when you look at it visually, it has to be at least at a certain level of standard so that we can buy
Mm-hmm.
it at a certain price and then clean it, put it in our stock, and then sell it to customers at a different price.
Got it. So when does the grading start after you collect a piece from the customer? Is that when it starts, or does this happen real time? Because in many other scenarios, the customer's phone or the customer's media electronic should be evaluated right there before you procure it. Because if you realize that it's a defunct piece after it is inbounded, then it's a loss to the company. So how do you usually do that?
Yeah, that's a really good question. There are two gradings that happen actually. One
Hmm.
is from the customer side. The customer have to
Okay.
answer a few questions, and this grading or inspection is much easier than what we do in the warehouse.
Okay.
So what customer does is he will be asked a few questions and he has to
Hmm.
answer them, like, is the Bluetooth working? Is the screen
Yeah.
working well? How does it look like? And the
Hmm.
answers could be like new, a little bit of scratches,
Yeah.
more
Yeah.
scratches, something like this. So very
Yeah.
easy questionnaire of
Mhm,
5 to 10 questions. And then
mhm,
based on this, we give him a tentative price. So we say, okay, based on your answers, this could be
mhm.
the price offer. Then
Okay.
the customer has to send in the device to us, and
Mhm.
then the device goes to a warehouse. We unpack it and we say, okay, the device actually matches it, and then it's sent to
Okay.
grading after that. In grading
Okay.
in warehouse, that's where the magic happens, right? That's where
Mm-hmm.
a detailed inspection happens. Like really,
Yeah,
we look at
yeah,
the device and we make different tests, functional
yeah.
tests, visual
Mm-hmm.
tests, and we give it a score, different
Mm-hmm.
scores for different questions, and based on these
Mm-hmm.
scores, we define what is the variant of the device. So, for example,
Yeah.
when we get answers from customer, we say that the variant is like new, we call it
Mm-hmm.
A1, and
Mm-hmm.
if after inspection we say that no, it's not like new, it's actually A2, then
Okay.
we tell the customer, okay, you said it's A1, but it's actually A2, so the price is
Mm-hmm.
not 500 euros, we can only pay you 450 euros or something like this.
Okay.
And then we have
Uh-huh.
this seamless communication. Sometimes we also
Yeah.
show them pictures, videos of the device, and tell them, okay,
Okay.
this is why we think the price is this much. Do you agree to
Mm-hmm.
it or not? And then through the portal, the customer can accept it or reject it. If he accepts it,
Oh,
we take it and put it in our stock. If he rejects it, we send it back to him.
okay. That's a pretty unique business model, I would say, because the customer has to approve it or deny it, whatever offer
Yeah,
price that you offer, and then the credit is actually
yeah,
realized for your
exactly.
company or
I mean,
for the
if
customer.
the
Okay.
price is same, if the offered
Mm-hmm.
price is same as what we also
Mm-hmm.
define in our grading, then we just say,
Okay.
okay, it's the same offered price, it's agreed. So
Mm-hmm.
we just give the money to the customer and we say the device is ours.
Got it. So approximately what percentage of such offers are approved? Because
So,
whatever is not approved is maybe a loss for you because you invest time and money in evaluating or grading that product, right?
so yeah, that's a really good question. We measure it using a KPI called purchase rate, and
Okay.
we are trying
Mm-hmm.
to always push this purchase rate up. And
Mm-hmm.
we used to be at when I joined the company, we used to be at around 85, something like this. Now we are more
Mm-hmm.
than 90. We are really good. We are always pushing it up, and
Okay,
yeah,
that's nice. Yeah.
it's going
So
up.
what's the industry standard usually?
To be honest, I don't know because this is something I'm not sure if I can share it, but yeah.
Okay, okay. No worries. Yeah, because that sounds like a unique business model and not many such players are in the market for capturing this side of the market. Okay. Yeah, those are interesting insights, Anand. So, as a product manager, which part of the whole experience that you just mentioned do you own? Is there a web portal on which the customer has to log on and do all of this? Is that the piece you own or something else?
So that piece where the customer interacts is owned by someone
Hmm.
else, some other
Okay.
product team. What
Okay.
our team, the team I manage owns is the
Hmm.
operational part of it, like the warehouse.
Hmm.
The time since the item starts grading, like when someone starts
Yeah.
grading an item, so
Hmm.
he needs to the grader has to answer some questions in our system, and this system is
Okay.
managed by
Okay.
us. And this UI is like a simple UI where the questions have to be answered, but there is a much more
Okay.
complicated mechanism behind it, taking these
Hmm.
questions and
Hmm.
scoring these answers, and based
Yeah.
on these answers defining what should be the price, where the item has to
Hmm.
go next. And it's the
Hmm.
whole process of how the item has to flow within the warehouse as well, like
Got it.
from grading, what's the next step, from next step, what is the next step, until it goes into the storage space or it goes to a customer. So there are
Understood.
multiple products our team takes care of. One is the grading
Hmm.
product, both for the graders, and the
Hmm.
management part, which is taken care by like another team, which is a business team, who has to
Hmm.
define, okay, what are the questions, based on these questions what
Yeah.
should happen to items and stuff like this. And then there
Okay.
is logistics flow of how the items have to
Hmm.
go, where they have to
Hmm.
go, when they have to go where. And this
Hmm.
product is also managed by us. And there are few other smaller products which we take care of, like when there's a cable missing, we have to add a cable to the item, like a phone needs a cable in there, and
Yeah. Yeah.
multiple other things, right? So throughout this process there are other smaller things like a reset, so that every item has to be reset if it
Yeah.
can be reset, because there's GDPR rules in there. So we also take care of these products. There are some products which we buy from external, so we manage the interfaces for these external products. So there are many products that we manage as part of our team. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Those are too many products to manage.
Yeah.
When you said product, something struck my mind. I read this quote in a book which says, customers for products or products for customers. I believe the former part is a much more niche segment because you actually do not identify customers, but you create customers for the product. So,
Mm.
how do you usually identify the product market fit, or especially within the supply chain? How do you identify products? Or let's not talk about supply chain as whole. Maybe that's a broader segment to talk. But within your role or within your expertise, how do you usually identify that, hey, this product is probably needed for the customer?
Yeah. So you were asking about customers. So my customers are all internal customers. So
Yes.
they can be people from different business
Yeah.
teams,
Hmm.
like um, strategic grading, we call it, like the people who
Yeah.
define what happens to items based on questions. And
Yeah.
there is like actual people on the floor, like the warehouse managers and
Hmm.
bunch of other stakeholders, right?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
how we define it's, I think it's much more easier than a market facing role, facing role, at
Hmm.
least in terms of how we define the product. For
Yeah.
us,
Yeah. Yeah.
we how I define if a product is needed or not
Hmm.
is based on the business need, right? It starts at what's needed for what is company looking at
Yeah.
um, in
The
1 year,
objective
in
of the
5 years,
company. Yeah.
and what
Hmm.
is the strategy of the company? How do we want to go ahead? And
Hmm.
for example, this is just an example, not
Yeah.
actually
Yeah.
what we're doing, right?
Yeah.
So, for
Yeah.
example, if the strategy is that we are in a very good market position and we want to reduce costs,
Hmm.
like really cut costs, in
Yeah.
that case, what we would be looking at is okay, we have a couple of warehouses and
Yeah.
we have a lot of process happening. Now we have to
Hmm.
find opportunities to reduce costs. And we look at each process, what are the existing products that we have. And
Yeah.
then we look at each process and we see, okay, there are multiple products, we have multiple processes. And then
Hmm.
there are also a lot of exceptions, like exception management that you do. And then
Yeah.
we think about, okay, what could be a good product which will give us the cost savings we are looking at. And this could
Hmm.
be a new product, this could be improvement of an existing product, or it
Yeah.
could be just a change in the process as well. And if
Understood.
it's a new product or an improvement of existing product, it will be our team who is leading it. But if it's
Hmm.
just a change in process, the warehouse or the change managers will be leading the whole process, and
Yeah.
then we will be helping them
Yeah.
do it, because every change in the process also needs a corresponding change in the system, right?
Of course. Of course. Yeah. So there's not just one way, but you look at multiple factors, be it the cost or
Exactly.
be it non-value adding tasks at that moment
Yeah.
or non-value adding
Yeah. On the
processes,
other hand,
etc.
there are other things like strategic things, right? So there is
Hmm.
small, for example, business unit that you want to grow in the
Yeah.
next 5 years.
Hmm.
But right now, all the processes in the business unit are quite manual. So going forward, you don't want
Yeah.
them to be manual. If you automate them, you need new products. You want to build new products to
Yeah.
automate this process, or buy
Yeah.
new products, whatever.
Hmm.
But if you look at the existing business size, it doesn't make
Hmm.
sense to build it. The ROI is like 10
Yeah.
years or 15 years. But if you
Yeah.
have a
Yeah.
strategy to grow this,
Right.
and you need to have
Hmm.
proper automation and system in place to make this growth
Hmm.
happen, then you need to say
Yeah.
that I'm taking a strategic bet and building this product or buying this product and integrating
Yeah.
it, right?
Yeah. Of course. Of course. Yeah, that answers my question. Got it. And when we speak about product, if I were to envision a product or launch a product, especially within my scope of work or based on my experience, the biggest challenge I've had is identifying exceptions proactively. Um, if a product were to be launched, what is with what MVP can I launch the product so that the customer experience or user experience is so good, and it is always going through the happy path. When as a product
Mhm.
manager, when you think about launching a product, how do you usually come across or face these challenges of exceptions? Because I believe no product can be launched with 100% non-exception rate. So how do you usually go
Yeah,
with this? What's your take on that?
yeah. That's a really good question. I think when you look at this exception rate, or we call it edge cases or special cases, whatever, it depends on the size of the
Hmm.
company, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So for a company like Microsoft, I think you can really try to optimize it to something like 99% because the 1% is already a big number to not
Yeah, the
serve the
volume is so
customers,
high
right?
that correct. Yeah, yeah,
The volume is so high, and you can really
yeah.
try to optimize it to the point where it's 99 or 99.5%. How I
Mm,
personally start is look at 80/20 rule, right? Like try to
yeah.
build something for 80% and then
Mm,
add functionalities for other edge cases, which will take it to more like 90-95% of the cases. And then the rest 5% can be handled
mm,
manually by people on the floor. The people on the in the warehouse are
yeah.
like really experienced usually, and they can take care of anything manually, right?
Mm,
It's just it takes a lot of time and
yes.
it can increase the SLA, and the customer is not happy in the end. This
Yes.
could happen, but if you look
Exactly.
at
Exactly.
that, if we can do it 80% in the MVP, that's really good
Mm,
for me. And if we can, the next versions
mm,
can increase it to, let's say, 85, 90, 95, sometimes 98.
yeah.
That's already quite good. I
Mm,
would not put any more investment into that product because it only gives you
mm,
marginal ROI after that, right?
yeah. Yeah. And probably this goal will change from company to company, product team to product team, etc.
Exactly.
I believe. Uh,
Exactly.
of
If you
course,
look at Amazon,
80/20
they
is the
can
standard.
probably do
Yeah.
it for 99.9%. Exactly.
Yeah. It comes down to the point in which the company wants to decide whether I need to spend more resources on this, handling it manually, or spend more money in the tech so that I cover the most edge cases that will probably positively impact the customer. Yeah,
Mhm.
got it. That's interesting. Interesting to know. So, as a product manager, what has been your biggest challenge in your whole journey? If you can remember one at this moment.
So I've been working in this logistics area for the last more than 3 years. And before that, I worked
Mm-hmm.
as a product manager for a short time where I was working in a customer facing role, right? B2B
Mm-hmm.
product. I think one
Mm-hmm.
of the biggest challenge, mainly because I'm working not in a very huge company. I didn't work in a
Yeah.
huge company so far as a product manager, mostly
Mm-hmm.
medium-sized businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the biggest challenge for me is really getting the C level on board with what we want to do, right? I say this mainly
Yeah.
because when you are in a medium-sized company, the C level is usually quite involved.
Uh-huh.
And when you
Okay.
work with the C level people, you have to not just think in three or four different angles. You have to think in very holistical view, and the questions can
Yeah.
come from anywhere, right? They
Yeah.
can
Yeah.
jump at one moment to a very detailed level asking about like very specific case, and then they can
Mm-hmm.
jump to a very high level ask about, okay, for us, for our
Correct.
business, what can it bring. So you have to be
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
careful about preparing um, all different questions they can ask you, and sometimes they have information that you don't have about market or about investors, what investors are asking
Yeah.
about other parts of the business, about budget
Yeah.
for next year, next things like this, and then
Mm-hmm.
they can change the decision based on this new information that they get. So you have to try to understand this, navigate this, have multiple presentations, documentations, maybe
Yeah.
plans changed multiple
Yeah.
times, have many meetings, and really getting C level on board is probably the hardest thing for me. Um,
Okay.
but I think it's same whenever the C level is involved, right? For any product manager.
Of course. And to simplify it for the audience, by C-level, you mean the leadership teams or the
Yeah,
leadership, right?
the CEO, CTO,
Yeah.
CPO,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Got it. Yeah. And I think this is so subjective. If the leader has a different view altogether, then probably it becomes very difficult for us to convince the leader as well.
Yeah,
Although we are right on some of the domains or some of the rationales that we bring, it becomes a little challenging when leader
yeah,
is
it's
not aligned.
always really hard to go against someone in the C level and say, okay, doesn't make sense. But I'm lucky in this
Yeah.
case at Rebuy because at least here our CTO and our COO, who I talk with most often, are open to discussion, like really
Uh,
looking at data.
Yeah.
They think through rationally, but they also ask a lot
Yeah.
of other questions, right? Like, okay, you say this is the
Yeah.
case, but what happens if this will happen,
Correct.
or I don't see ROI in the next 5 years, and
Yeah.
stuff like this.
Yeah. Yeah. So your take would be going with data and researching fully.
Yeah.
So
In the end, let's be honest, right? Everyone says product manager is the CEO of the product. He can never be the CEO. I'm saying that. And if the C level decides on something strategically, they
yeah.
say that what you worked on for the last 6 months is not needed. I
Yeah.
think every team has to agree that it's
You just have to
a risk,
dissolve it. Yeah.
and
Yeah.
we have to dissolve it, right? That's a reality we all has to agree on.
Totally. Totally with you. I think that's the take with almost every company. Unless we own one company and we are the CXO, uh, and we don't be the CXOs which we worked with previously, this will be the case. Yeah. Awesome. That was interesting. Any last wise words or wisdom words for the users on progressing career in product management or supply chain, anything that comes to your mind, which will be useful for the audience?
Yeah, one thing I can tell, I mean, I've been thinking about this a lot, is I became a product manager before I was SAP consultant, SAP consultant at Accenture. Then I went did my MBA and then became a product manager. And one thing I really wish I would have done in the past is be like an actual developer, like developing something, even if it's a small web app or whatever.
Yeah.
I think this would really help the product
Hmm.
managers in terms of understanding what developers are talking about, at least in the beginning few months when you go into a new role. And then it also helps you real accurately estimate, how big a project could be and stuff like this. So I think this would be really helpful. At least work on something, do some kind of coding, and really try to put on this coder shoes or developer shoes, and get some experience. 3 months, 6 months, it doesn't matter, but it would probably help in the long run to really work with developers and be go ahead in your career.
Wow. Yeah. That's so insightful, Anand. I believe doing a pilot, doing something independently will also give
Yeah,
you that thought process on how you may envision or how people may envision the application or web
yeah,
app or whatever it is. Yeah. Thank you for
exactly.
that. Okay. Awesome. It was so good talking to you. Thank you so much for spending some time with us and sharing your words of wisdom and your experiences about product management and supply chain.
Yeah.
Looking
Thank you
forward
very much
to
for
doing
having
another
me.
one soon. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's my first podcast ever, so
Wow.
I hope it was good.
I'm glad. Of course, it was great. It was great. Cool. Thank you. We'll
Thank you
catch
very
up
much.
again.
Catch
Yep.
up again. Bye
Yeah.
bye.
Bye bye.